Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel, Supercar Driver Training. It's me, Brad, and today I have a special car for you. It's from China, and it's called a BYD, which stands for Build Your Dreams. Around to the front of the car, as it's an electric car, we don't have an engine up front, but we do have a small space for a little bit of luggage. Not huge, but usable. Front of the car, we have some really nice lights that I'm a big fan of. I really like this design, which you don't see on many other cars, so it makes the front really quite attractive. Tyre-wise, on this car, we've got 235 45 R19s with a nice big sidewall, so they're quite a good ride over the bumps. We have these plastic inserts, which are a bit strange on the wheels. I did try and take them off. Can't get them off, unfortunately. And up front, we've got drilled discs, which are ventilated, which most of the other cars in this class don't tend to have. So it does keep them quite nice and cool, so they don't overheat like the Teslas. Side of the lovely car here, we have the BYD design logo here, which is quite nice indeed. We have the white pearlescent paint, which I'm not sure if you can see on the camera, but it actually is really quite nice. It's got a real pop to it. We've got the poppy-outy handles here on the side, of course, with the BYD logo on the top. And then we've got the little button as well here to lock and unlock the doors if you happen to have the key on you, which I do, which is also quite nice. It's a really quite a solid key. It's quite weighty as well, and it has all the bits and bobs on there you're going to need. Down on the side of the car here, we have these side skirts with this lovely hexagonal design, which you don't see on many other cars at all. And yeah, I'm a fan of that. That's really quite nice. To the rear wheels, we've got the same plastic covers that we have on the fronts, which it would appear you can't take off. Maybe you can if you give them a real pull, no idea. And we've got steel brakes back here as well. To the back of the car here, we have a bit of fakery, unfortunately, with these fake vents from the rear wheel well, which aren't real. But we have got some really nice lights up here with the BYD Tech design logo. I'm not sure if this is a part of the exclusive design pack or if this comes as standard, but they are really nice. And then down at the bottom there, we've got a bit of more fakery, unfortunately, with the diffuser. But again, this really does make the back of the car look nice. The BYD Seal logo with the 3.8 seconds, which obviously isn't actually right, because this car, as we've found out doing our drag times, is actually a lot quicker than this. So maybe we could just pull this off and change it to a 3.4 rear view camera here. And we also have the standard sensors at the back, and we have a button for the boot, which is pretty quick at opening, I guess. And then we have the BYD charging cables in here. These are pretty hefty, to be honest. There's probably about 5 kilos worth in there. And then we've got the panoramic roof sunshade as well, which I haven't opened, to be honest, but presuming that's quite nice. This is actually a really big boot. It's 400 litres, and then up here we've got the automatic closing and locking buttons for the back as well. And at the back here we have the charging port with the slow standard speed and then the fast charger below it there. And if I get in the car, I have got loads of room. I have got my position set up for driving as a 6'1" man, and back here I've got tons of leg room and loads of headroom as well, to be honest. And it is super, super comfy. I am absolutely loving these seats. Everything is just set up proportionally so well. Back here we have all the bits you would expect with the armrest and cup holders. And this fun design here, which means you can tickle the neck of the person who's driving in front of you if you want to, I guess. From the driver's seat here, we have all the bits you would expect from in here. We have the lovely steering wheel with all the different buttons on here for everything that you're going to need, like the phone and all the different modes up here. We also have the adaptive cruise control buttons where you can put the distance from you and the car in front. And something I quite like about this car is the cameras. If we press this button here, we've got all of the cameras around the car, the 360 degree. Now, on most cars, these cameras turn off as soon as you stop driving along, but in this particular car, they actually stay on. So if your passenger likes, I guess, they can watch what's going on behind you, beside you, at the front, and all the rest of it while you're actually driving along, which is something I've not seen in another car before. Down here in the center, we have got our little drive shift, which is quite nice. It feels like glass, but I think this is probably plastic, but it feels really nice with our start-stop button, of course. And then we've also got the off-road button here and the different mode button to change it from sport to normal to economy up on the dash. Up here we also have our wireless charging pad, and in this car, and only this car that I found so far, you can actually wirelessly charge your phone and it doesn't overheat because there's a little vent under here, which is a really cool part of the design. We've got our 2 cup holders here and a huge hole there to put all your bits and bobs in. And this car's also got an NFC, so I think you can not have the key, but you can have a little key card and you can just put it on top here, and then you can put the car into drive, which is pretty cool. If you'll remember, years ago in the Teslas, they used to be this way round. Now, some people loved it, but some people hated it because, I don't know, when you're driving, maybe if you have the screen like this, for some people it's easier to look at. But then Tesla decided to turn it around. Well, BYD decided, you know what, we're going to have it so people can decide for themselves, and they can turn it like this and have it either way. The screen is super duper responsive and is just instant at doing absolutely anything, and has everything under the sun you could think of in here. You've got settings for all of the audio, the display, the car, the charging, the vehicle, literally everything, and everything is super quick and fast, and there's absolutely no lag here whatsoever when you're playing with all the buttons. Of course, the car has got Apple wireless CarPlay, which is lovely, and these seats, as I was saying before, not only are they super comfy, but they've got heating and they've got cooling in them as well, so that's also a really good feature in this car. Which I also like up here is the Alcantara, this really nice feeling you get, and then we've got the standard kind of glove box there, which is a pretty decent size. Overall, inside this car is a really nice place to be. These seats are super comfy, and I really like it. Also, this massive panoramic sunroof means that the cabin always feels quite light, and it's not really too dark in here, which is nice. The ride is really good for such a heavy car. I'd say it's probably better than the Teslas. It does have various driving modes that you can change from sports to normal to eco, and I'm not really sure it makes a huge difference with the dampers. I think it's more of a steering input that it changes. It makes it a little bit sharper, a bit more direct, but in any of the modes it handles really well. It really does, and I'm really impressed with this car. As I said before, the interior is plush, the leather is soft, there's Alcantara everywhere, everything feels like it's put together really well. There's no squeaks and rattles and anything. It's a really solid build, and it's really impressive. The technology in this thing is on another level, and it has so many features that you would get in a much more premium car that I'm quite sold on it, to be honest. Yes, this car is quite expensive, let's be honest. It's the Seal, so it's the top model they have, and it's the Excellence trim level, so it is the best that BYD offer, but honestly, it's a really nice place to be in here. Now, I've had this car for about a week, and I've been finding out more about it every day, getting used to it, putting some miles on it, trying it in different conditions and so on. And there's so many nice little features that you don't get on other cars in the same class and category, like the Tesla 3, for example. Another cool feature this car has, which I really quite like, it might be a little bit of a fad, but I like it. It's the internal ambient lighting system. So like most other cars, you can have it any color under the rainbow and intensity level and so on. But then this car has an additional feature whereby you can actually select so that the car ambient lights follow the rhythm of the music and pulse to it, which is quite cool. I thought, oh god, that's going to be really off-putting when you're driving, and you're going to be looking away all the time, or it's going to be kind of flashing in your face, but it's not. It's like a soft pulsing light, like in the footwells and whatnot, which is just kind of a cool feature. So I think that would definitely be something that the younger user might like, because, you know, you're having a nice time listening to your music in the evening on the way back from work, it's just getting dark, and it's just kind of pulsing a blue or a red, or it can actually do all the different colors. So it's really quite a cool little feature, something like that which you don't find in other cars, which I really quite like. Other features I really like in here is that you don't have just the cooled seats, you've got the heated as well. It just feels really premium. I'm going to be honest with you. It's got features that I find, for example, in the new Range Rovers, whereby it will clean all of the air in the cabin and the particles, and it will tell you how clean the air is outside when you're driving. It's got all of the additional safety features that you get in most of the other vehicles. It's got adaptive cruise control. It's got the distance you can change between yourself and the car in front. It's got a lot of features that I just wouldn't have expected to find in a reasonably new brand that I've never really heard of until quite recently. And it's really impressive. Before I got into this car, I quickly looked online and read a few reviews from other people saying about the ride and so on, and that it didn't handle very well, and over certain road surfaces it was noisy and so on, but I haven't found that at all. I think it handles really well. Now, granted, it is no sports car. It's not a car to be taken on the track, that's for sure. The suspension is very soft and very forgiving and really does soak up all the bumps really, really well, and it would not work on any type of track, that's 100% for sure. But what it does mean is that for the majority of the time, on almost all road conditions, in any of the settings, normal, sports, whatever, it is very comfortable. And I don't find that it has much road noise at all. I think that it's actually really quiet in here. And again, another small feature that I like about this car that you get in other more premium models is the fact that when you get a phone call, it automatically turns the fans down to quiet down the cabin for you. I think that's excellent as well. So, you know, you're driving along and you've got the fans up high because it's either really cold or really warm outside, and the phone call comes in, and without having to faff about and turn the fans down so you can hear the person, it automatically lowers them right down for you. So you have your phone call, and then as soon as you get off the phone call, it turns them back up to where they were. So it's got some really cool little features that are really nice. Also, regarding all the safety features it does have everything that you would expect a brand new 2025 modern car to have, but they're not intrusive like other vehicles. For example, the Aston Martin we had the other day, that you just couldn't turn the systems off even if you fully deactivated them. In this, you can really move them and change them around. You can turn them off completely, you can turn them on, and then they've got a late and a moderate and an early feature for like the predictive collision warning and so on, which is really cool. And then if you go over the white lines, for example, in some cars it really kind of pulls you back and says you're coming out of your lane, but this doesn't. It's just a very little gentle, very quiet beep beep in the background. You can barely hear it, and a very gentle pull to give you that kind of, oh, you're just slightly off the center of your lane, which is really nice. Whereas in other cars, it kind of drags you over, then it's beeping at you and it's really intrusive. Whereas in this, it's actually pretty good. Another small thing that I found that I quite liked about this, that you've got the different driving modes. You've got eco and normal and sport and so on, and you can change it around, and you get the different colors on the dash and so on, and the handling changes slightly. If you put it in sport, when you turn the car off, it stays in sport when you turn it back on again, which is something that you don't usually find in other cars. It usually just reverts back to kind of the general normal setting or eco setting. You have to, every time you get in the car, if you want to always drive it in sports, for example, change it back. But in this car, it's automatic. It just stays in the setting that you last drove it in, which is really nice. The range also is really good, because when I fully charged this car on a couple of occasions, it's told me it will do more than 300 miles, and they're actually quite accurate. In lots of other cars that I've driven before, you will have on the dash, I don't know, 250 miles, and you'll get up to 200 and it'll say, oh, you've only got 3 miles left or something crazy. Whereas with this, I've actually fully charged it. It says it will do 310, 320 miles. Obviously it depends on the way you drive the car and what conditions you're driving in, but I found that it got all the way up to 290, and it said like, oh, now we're getting down to the final 5% of the battery you need to recharge. So that's also really good. According to all of the paperwork and advertising figures and all the rest of it, this car should only produce 520 horsepower. Now, another thing I like about this car is on the dash, the whole time on the left hand side, it tells you how much actual horsepower you're using when you're accelerating, and when you're braking, it gives you the minus figure, so you know how much power you're putting back into the battery. So in this car, I've found on multiple occasions, as you'll see from the screenshot I'm about to put up, it will actually produce in excess of 530 horsepower, and I'm pretty sure I've seen it up to 550 on a couple of occasions, which is way more than they say the car actually has power-wise. And the same applies to the 0 to 60 times. On the back of the car, it very prominently says 3.8, and it says in all of the paperwork this car will do 3.8. And I've seen other people testing this car, and they say, yeah, the car will do between 3.8 and 5.3. Now, they don't specify why there's a difference there. And the reason is because it gets a little bit hot sometimes. After you've been driving for a while, the batteries get hot, the motors get hot, and it just reduces the power a little bit. But what I have found, which is nice, which you don't get happening with other brands on occasion, is that once the power gets down to, say, under 50% or under 30%, you get a drop in power. That doesn't seem to happen in here. you can still put your foot down and it will tell you you're producing 410, 20, maybe 30 horsepower. So it's still pretty nippy, let's be honest. That's not a slow car, that's not a low horsepower figure. And again, the same applies to the top speed. BYD say that the car will do 111 miles an hour, and all of the other reviews that I've seen everywhere, the car does 111 miles an hour. So we took it to our private test track and tried it, and lo and behold, it doesn't do 111 miles an hour, it does 118 miles an hour. And it is electronically limited to that as well, because it will sit at 118 as many laps as you want to do at the track. So what's quite nice about BYD, it would seem, in this instance, is that they underestimate what the car will do, both with the battery, the performance, the handling, the times, and everything, which is quite refreshing and nice, because other brands, they're either usually on the nose, or they say, like Tesla, that the car will do 0 to 60 in 2 seconds, when in reality it will do 0 to 60 in 2.3 or 2.4, and that would have to be, you know, the most ideal conditions with sticky brand new tires and no one else in the car, and the battery at 100% exactly, and maybe slightly down a hill, and so on and so forth, which is, you know, crazy. It's not real world. Whereas this car, real world, will do 3.4 to 3.6 constantly. Every single time I've launched it, it's done that. And then when the motors are getting a bit hot and the battery's getting a bit hot, it comes down a bit, and then it creeps up to the 3.8 and maybe above. But the majority of the time, it will do 3.4 to 3.6, 0 to 60. And BYD obviously know this isn't a sports car, because they've actually got a cool little feature in here as well, where you can put the car into drag strip mode. It's not track mode, it's not race mode, it's literally drag strip. And then it will tell you what's your quickest 0 to 60 time, and all the rest of it under the little timer, which is again really cool, because, you know, it says, you know, check around you, make sure you're in a safe environment to do this, and so on and so forth. And it talks you through it on the dash, so I'll put that up on the screen now as well, so you can see what it looks like. But there you go, the car is actually saying the best time the car believes it's done 0 to 62 is 3.5 and 3.6. So there you go, it definitely performs a lot better than it's supposed to. I'm really impressed so far. I mean, I'm finding it difficult to find fault with it at the moment, if I'm quite honest with you. I like to usually be quite, you know, open-minded about every car that I get, and I like to kind of talk about the good and the bad. But in this car, I'm finding not much bad to say about it, if I'm quite honest with you. Again, also the sound system in here is really good. You can play with all the settings in there and get the sound exactly as you like it, as you would in most cars, but it doesn't distort when it gets loud. It is a very good loud sound system. It's not kind of, you know, you get so far and then that's it. It doesn't have any more pump. No, it's really good. And the phone in here is really clear as well. So if you're having your phone conversation and you're driving along, I'm not sure where the mic is, probably up here, but it's incredibly clear. I've not had anyone say that they can't hear me. In fact, I've had someone say, oh, you're driving? I couldn't hear anything in the background at all. So it's really, really quiet in here, and the phone connectivity and mics and so on are also of really high quality. One other thing I'm going to say about this as well is the regenerative braking. Now in some cars, like the Tesla, even if you turn it to its lowest setting, for me at least, it still feels like you're in a Scalextrics. You take your foot off the pedal and it's instantly slowing you down, and you can really feel it, and I just don't like that very much. It's not my driving style. I don't like that feeling of immediately being slowed down as soon as you take your foot off the accelerator. Whereas in this, currently it's in the most aggressive setting, the most sporty setting for the regenerative braking, and it really doesn't do anything at all. They've managed to get it set up so well that you take your foot off the throttle and you still coast along, and it doesn't feel like you're instantly slowing down on the brakes, which is nice. That's my preferred driving style. And then if you put it in the lesser setting again, it's still regeneratively braking, and you're still getting a minus HP figure on the dash every time you pull up and every time you're coasting. but it definitely isn't as intrusive as it is on other cars and brands. And again, that's something I really like about this. It's nice. Like right now, my foot's off the throttle as we're going down a bit of a slope. It says minus 30 HP. Now I brake a little bit, it might minus 50 HP. It's recharging the battery, but I'm not being slowed down much. What I will say about the ride of the car as well is it's got, you know, great power, 500 odd horsepower there when you put your foot down, and it does really hit you. Like, the dash actually just said 600. That's the first time I've seen it say 600 horsepower for a second there. It really does wallop you with the power, but it doesn't feel unstable. It doesn't rear up like other cars and the steering get light or anything crazy like that. It really does feel planted, and this is a four-wheel drive car as well, so it doesn't really get any wheel slip, and it takes off really, really well. So that's another bonus to this car, because some other cars, they've got a little bit too much power, and you'll put your foot down and it'll kind of buck, and the front will get a little bit light, and it will feel a little bit sketchy, and you have to be a little bit careful, shall we say. But in this car, no, it does feel really planted and nice, and yeah, it's definitely quick. I mean, like, I'm just like driving normally, 20 miles an hour, boom, it really hits you. And yeah, again, on the dash just then, in that 1-2 second gap there, it went right up to 600 horsepower. So it's a whole lot more powerful than BYD even tell their customers. What would I buy if it was my money? Well, I'm pretty sure it's going to be this. It's around the same price, if not a bit cheaper. It has a longer battery life distance. It's got more features. It's more attractive. It handles nicer. The interior is more comfortable. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that if it was my money and I was going to have to buy an electric car now in this price bracket, I think it would be one of these. So well done, China. I mean, yeah, I've never been an advocate for electric cars, but I'm slowly being converted, shall we say. Yeah, well done, BYD. Well done. What do you think of the BYD Seal? For me, it gets a definite thumbs up. It's a really good car. It both gives better mileage than it says, it does a better 0 to 60 than it says, it drives really well, the interior is really nice. Yeah, and the design is pretty awesome. I really do like this car. So I'd like to give a big thanks to BYD and Alan Day of London for giving us this car to test. I would also like to thank again Mill Hill Golf Club for allowing us to film here today. And I'd like to thank all of you for watching. Please let me know in the comments down below what you would like us to review next. For now, Brad out.